It's the 13th week of the NBA season. Let's preview that week. Let's talk about all of the ways that the schedule lays out for us. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and shout out to Rick Disneck. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Check out LockedOnDaily.com as well, and you can find the best newsletter for your favorite team, LockedOnDaily.com. All the info where you need it. I'd like a double bang as well if you've got a thumb to spare and a comment and a pre-bang and a pre-like and an audio and a video and the live trade deadline show. You know, all that stuff. It's all there. It's all coming up. If you're new to the show, welcome. Hello. Good to have you. It is National Pharmacist Day today, so celebrate your local pharmacist. Tell them to stop doing the job because it sucks. No, don't do that. I mean, do it, but also don't. We're here to talk about Week 13. Yes, I know it's Week 12 on Yahoo. Don't care. It is the 13th week of the NBA season. It is the 12th matchup of a lot of teams' fantasy seasons. It might be the 13th matchup of your season, but it is the 13th week of the season. We're talking about January 13th through to January the 19th is where we are at. So let's just get straight into this and let's talk about how it all shakes out, how it breaks down, how the schedule looks for the week. It is another pretty well spread week. We've got 6 games on Monday. We've got 7 games on Tuesday. The only day where we've got really any debate about streaming is going to be Wednesday, where there are 11 games on. And I would say for about 50-50 leagues, I would say, or teams, you will be able to stream on Wednesday, but for others, you won't. But all the others, you're almost definitely going to be able to stream. Thursday's got 5, Friday's got 9, Saturday's got 6, and Sunday has 7. Of course, we are, it appears, smack bang in the middle of postponement season, where we've had 4 games postponed over the last 2 or 3 days. 3 of those in LA due to the fires, and then we had the Houston-Atlanta game due to some icy road conditions. We already had a game in Texas, I think it was in Dallas, that had to be adjusted because of the conditions, because of the iciness there as well, which the time had to be adjusted. But we've had those 4 games postponed. There is no idea at this point, and we have no indication whatsoever about when those games will be played. I don't expect we'll get notification on when those games will be played, especially the LA ones, until we actually know whether, when we can actually start playing those games in LA again. So there is a possibility again this week of having games off where there are postponed games because of the fire situation in Los Angeles. If I have a look at where the Lakers and the Clippers sit, the Lakers have 3 home games for the week, and so do the Clippers. So is a chance that both of those teams with 4-game weeks play only once? I guess so. I would think it's unlikely that all 3 of those home games get postponed this week, but I also just don't know. But they do play, both teams play at home on Monday. Then the Lakers are there on Wednesday. The Clippers are there on Thursday. And then, and actually that's not right. Sorry, my bad. Are the Clippers at home 3 times? Yeah, they are. Sorry. Yeah, no, my bad. The Lakers play at home Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The Clippers play Monday, Wednesday, Sunday. So you would think that the Clippers probably are at risk of having 1 to 2 cancelled. The Lakers 1 to 3, and then, but also could be 0. Could be 0. So again, just being aware of that. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we've got 6, 7, 11 games. Thursday is 5, Friday is 9, Saturday is 6, Sunday is 7. In terms of how that breaks down for games played per team during the week, we've got 14 teams that play 4 games. We've got 14 teams that play 3 games. So literally as even as it gets. And then you've got 2 teams playing 2 games. That's the Charlotte Hornets and the Utah Jazz. So they're the only 2-game teams. The teams playing 4 games, Brooklyn, Chicago, Denver, Houston, Clippers, and Lakers, for now, Miami, Milwaukee, Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Philadelphia, Portland, San Antonio, and Washington, and all the other teams, of course, are playing 3. Now, the teams that play against the Clippers and Lakers, especially on Monday, that's Memphis and Miami. So both of those teams, and one of those is important, and it's Memphis, because that means if they don't play that game, it's a 2-game week for Memphis. There is a risk of them missing that game. The Clippers and then so Miami's in real trouble also of a 2-game week because they play the Clippers on Monday and the Lakers on Wednesday. And that could turn them into a 4-game week. And then you've got the Nets who play the Clippers on Wednesday and the Lakers on Friday. So that seems unlikely that would turn into a 2-game week for Brooklyn. But you've got Memphis, Brooklyn, and Miami who could turn from a 3-gamer into a 2-gamer in Memphis' case. Miami could go from 4-3 to 2, and Brooklyn could go from 4-3 to 2. So again, that is pretty important. In the last game of the week, actually, I said that the Lakers have 3 at home and 1 on the road. They do, but unfortunately, I wasn't smart enough to look at where the game on the road was. It's at the Clippers. So the Lakers have 4 games in LA this week. Again, it would seem unlikely to me that the whole week is wiped out, but the Lakers could turn into a 0-game team. Theoretically, if every game this week is postponed, they could be a 0-game team, the Lakers. So that is incredibly risky. So we've got the Clippers at risk. You've got the Lakers at risk. You've got Memphis at risk of a 2-game week. You've got Miami at risk of a 2-game week. And you've got Brooklyn at risk of a 2-game week as well. So there you go. That's where that is. Plus, whatever other natural disasters decide that it's going to be or create problems for us across the country, with random ones out of the blue like we got with the one for the Houston-Atlanta game today. What about quality game stuff and moving into a streaming discussion? So for the last 2 weeks or so, we've been in a spot where every day has been a quality game day, and it's the streaming is just like, let's see what we can do, right? Because we can stream every day. Not quite as simple this week. I believe every day this week, outside of Wednesday, is a full stream day. Wednesday's got 11 games. There are 3 teams who I'm going to guarantee have 4 quality games. By guarantee, I mean outside of postponements. 4 quality games. Oklahoma City, Portland, and Washington. So they're 4-game teams, and they don't play on Wednesday. So the value of streaming players from those teams is much higher than it is for other 4-game teams. Then on the flip side, both of the 2-game teams, Charlotte and Utah, unfortunately, one of their games falls on the Wednesday. So if you're streaming a fringe Jazz, a fringe Charlotte player, Bryce Sensabaugh, Micah Potter, Johnny Juzang. No, actually, not streaming him because he's out for like multiple weeks with a hand fracture. Svi Mihailuk, Kyle Filipowski, maybe, right? And in Charlotte, it's Cody Martin, it's Josh Green, it's Nick Richards. You get 1 game out of him. That's useless. Because again, it depends how your Wednesday looks. But if you had Bryce Sensabaugh, would you play him on Wednesday? Would that make sense to hold him all through the week to get 1 game on Friday? You might. And you might think he's going to be that good down the stretch, which is possible. But that is a terrible scheduling position for these teams for this week. Right, before we go and get into the stream zone stuff, we'll come back and we'll talk about that. It's really important, I think. I think it is. No, I know it is. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate College Basketball HC. Yeah, HC. I was going to say GM, but it's not. It's HC because you are playing the role of a college basketball head coach. It's a brand new mobile game where you can take control of the program. You can do everything that you do there. Recruit players, hire staff, training camps, NIL deals, scholarships. It's all there at Ultimate College Basketball HC, the mobile game. And then when the games roll around, well, you draw up the offensive plays, you set your strategy, and all that stuff that you do there in terms of getting the players in the positions and all the stuff that works. But that helps to build your legacy, builds the foundation of your program for future recruiting, the current season, all of that stuff. The game lets you feel the full weight of what it means to be a head coach and lead your team to glory. And there is a special offer for all of you guys. You can use the code LOCKEDONCBB, all caps, in the game store to get a free boost to your program, the perfect way to kickstart your coaching career. So download Ultimate College Basketball HC. You can do it at ultimate-cbb.com or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate College Basketball HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Game Time app. You might want to go and actually see a college basketball game in person, and you want tickets to that and all other live events. And the process at times is frustrating. It's annoying. You get there and what's the good deal? What's the price? Oh, what's this extra fee? Like all that stuff, right? But Game Time, it helps eliminate all that stuff. And their new feature is Game Time Picks, which just shows you the best value deals. It filters out the fluff, shows you these are the good tickets for the event that you're going to see. When you're going to see that local college team, your state, university, you go in there, you can have a look, get the tickets, and it shows you this is the good deal. Look at what this is, and you go and see the views from your seat. You can have the all-in pricing on as well, so that when you get to checkout, you don't get the surprise fees added on as well. Game Time has all of those different things which help make the experience so much easier. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Okay, so let's talk streaming. Again, some of the ways that you can manage streaming for this week will depend on how you view that Wednesday with the 11 games on. But I'm going to approach that Wednesday as if it's a non-streamable day. It does become an interesting way to look at this. We're using this from a base 4 moves per week scenario. You can use one roster spot. You can turn that one roster spot using 4 moves into 6 games. All right. Part of the reason why this can be a frustrating week is that there's no Monday to Tuesday back-to-back. So we can get one roster spot. We can get anyone in on Monday. We can get somebody who plays the Tuesday, Thursday pseudo back-to-back without worrying about who plays on Wednesday. We can then get a Friday, Saturday combination. And then we could just get anyone in on a Sunday. So that means you've got Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 1 game on each of the 6 quality games for the week. So that's 6 games, 1 roster spot. Now, if you've got a Utah Jazz player, a Charlotte Hornets player who's a fringy sort of guy, Cody Martin, Nick Richards, like I said, Josh Green, but in Utah, it's a Sensabaugh, it's Keontae George in a shallower format. It's the random big men fill-in for John Collins, the Filipowskis, and the Michael Potter, those sort of guys. You can move on from them, turn their 2 games into 6. That's plus 4. If you don't have a Hornets or Jazz guy, you can turn a 3-game player into 6, which is plus 3 games for 1 roster spot, which is not bad. It's not bad. The other way to do it, which is a little bit different as well, is you can use 2 roster spots. And you can turn 2 roster spots into 10 games. And that might seem like a really good thing. 10 games is great. I've got 10 extra games. That's fantastic. But it is worth remembering that to turn those in, it's very unlikely to me that you are going to have a spare Hornets guy and a spare Jazz player that you can turn their 2 games into 10 games. So they're 4 games combined. That would seem unlikely. If you do, that's a big W. That's 6 extra games. It's really difficult to do. And part of the reason why that's... Actually, you know what? That's not even difficult to do. That's impossible to do. Scrap that. You can't do that because the only way that you're able to even get this part to work is by having someone on your team that plays on Monday already. And it's one of the players that plays on Monday that has only 3 games for the week. And that's 5 separate teams that do that. Detroit, Golden State, Memphis, the Knicks, and the Raptors. So if you've got a player from one of those teams who's a fringy sort of guy, you let them play on Monday. And then you move off them. And then you add somebody from the Thunder. And the Thunder actually has a lot of these guys. Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe. You can't do AJ Mitchell. He's out forever. Aaron Wiggins, right? One of those 3 players because they play Tuesday, they play Thursday, they play Friday. The only team that does that. So you've turned one of either Detroit, Warriors, Memphis, Knicks, and Raptors guy who is already on your roster. They are 3-game players. They've got 3-game weeks. And they play Monday. So they play Monday. And then they've got 2 games left in the final 6 days of the week. You move off of that player, you add a Thunder guy in, and you get Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So you've got 3 games there. And then you move off the Thunder player after Friday, and you get the weekend back-to-back in. So the move you made is moving off of one of those Detroit, Warriors, Memphis, Knicks, Raptors guy onto a Thunder player. So that's one move. And that gave you 1 game Monday. It gave you 3 games over the next 4 nights. So that's 4 games. And then you move off of that player with your second move and get a Saturday, Sunday back-to-back. And if you do that on 2 roster spots, you have turned a 3-game player, a Detroit player, a Golden State player, a Memphis player, a Knicks player, a Raptors player. You've turned that 3-game player, two different spots, into 5 separate games. So if you had have left that player there, they would have played 3, and you would have 6 games total, but you've turned it into 10 games total, which is still only a +4, which if you use just the 1 spot up above, you still can get a +4 if you turn a 2-game player into a 6-game spot. But that is dependent on having a Hornets guy or a Jazz guy available. If you have the ability to stream on the Wednesday with 11 games on, well, everything becomes more open to you. So there's no Monday, Tuesday back-to-back, but you can do Tuesday, Wednesday. You can do Thursday, Friday. You can do Saturday, Sunday. You can get 6 games, 3 moves, and then you turn that into 7 games in that roster spot. Yes? I hope that's not too confusing. I don't think it is, but that's the way that you can try and maximize your games played for the week. Let's take a look at some schedule quirks. It's not as many quirky things going on this week. There are a lot of teams, though, that do not play on the weekend. Dallas, Memphis, New Orleans, New York, Toronto, Charlotte, and Utah, their weeks are all done on Friday. And that is not that common. So I guess that is pretty quirky, because usually you get 2 teams or 3 teams maybe that don't have a game on the weekend. To have that many teams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams with no game on the weekend is pretty abnormal. And then you've got 4 teams that do not play until Wednesday. There's the 2-game teams, Charlotte and Utah, and you'll notice Charlotte and Utah do not play Monday, Tuesday, do not play Saturday, Sunday, meaning their 2 games are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I think both of them are just Wednesday, Friday teams from memory, which I should just have in front of me, and I'm going to bring it up right now. Yeah, they both play Wednesday, Friday. But then Boston and Orlando have a slow start to the week with no game Monday, no game Tuesday. Yes? Good. Let's talk about the 3 games in 4-night periods of the week. Between Sunday from week 12 into Monday of week 13, there's a lot of 3-game in 4-night periods there. It's Brooklyn, Chicago, Dallas, Denver, Milwaukee, New Orleans, New York, Philadelphia. Monday through to Thursday, you're going to see this team, Houston, a lot brought up. Between Monday and Thursday, Houston and the Clippers played 3 games in 4 nights, remembering that Wednesday is an 11-game day. Between Tuesday to Friday, a lot busier period as well. Brooklyn, Chicago, Dallas, Denver, Milwaukee, New Orleans, Oklahoma City. Between Wednesday to Saturday, Boston, who had the slow start, but then they come in and play 3 and 4. Boston, Houston, and Minnesota play 3 games in 4 nights between Wednesday to Saturday. And then we look at the end of the week, which is Thursday through to Sunday. The 3 games in 4 nights. There it's Oklahoma City, it's Portland, and it is Washington, who has 3 games in 4 nights to finish out the week. When we go and look at the 4-game in 6-night periods, again, just extending it out a little bit further, we've got between Sunday and Friday, we have got a lot. As I realize, that name is cut off there. So it's Brooklyn, Chicago, Dallas, Denver, Milwaukee, New Orleans, and New York. And the name that is cut off there is Oklahoma City. So apologies for that graphic from me. So Oklahoma City's got 4 games, 6 nights, Sunday to Friday. Between Monday to Saturday, so the beginning of week 13, Houston and Minnesota play their 4 games and they're wrapped up by Saturday. Meaning, again, that if you've got a Rockets player or a Wolves player who's a fringe guy, you can just sit on them and then you could flip them out after Saturday, add someone on a Sunday, and turn that roster spot into 5 games. It's not really worth it, but you can do that. And then Tuesday through to Sunday, you've got 4 games, 6 nights for Brooklyn, Chicago, Denver, Milwaukee, Oklahoma City, again with Oklahoma City being referenced, Philadelphia, Portland. Those teams have 4 games in 6 nights to finish out that period. We also have some 5-game in 8-night stretches during this week. So Sunday of week 12 into Sunday of, I don't know why these graphics have all screwed up on me. They shouldn't look like that, but my apologies. Sunday through to Sunday, 5 games in 8 nights. It's Brooklyn, Chicago, Denver, Milwaukee, Oklahoma City, Philadelphia, and Washington. But you'll notice that starting in week 13 through to the first Monday of week 14, there are only 2 teams who have 5 games in 8 nights. It's the Rockets and it's the Wolves. So we talk about them having 4 games in 6 nights, Monday to Saturday, and then they also play the following Monday. So you could move off them to get a Sunday game in, or that's a nice little schedule plus type scenario. Monday through Monday, 5 games in 8 nights. There are no teams, though, this week that play a 6, or starting from Sunday, there are no teams with a 6 game in 9 night period. We do not have that at this stage. What we do have, though, is me telling you that today's episode is also brought to you by a new sponsor, and that is Open Phone. When you are running a small business, that means you can wear a lot of hats. Your personal phone is your business phone, and before you know it, you're juggling customer calls day and night. And as your team grows, it's impossible to manage everything with just your personal number, and that is where Open Phone comes in. It's the #1 business phone system designed to help you keep your work and personal life separate. For just $15 a month, which is, that's nothing, you get complete transparency and visibility into everything happening with your business phone number. Open Phone works through an app on your phone or computer and integrates with team or tools like HubSpot and hundreds of others. It uses AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, so you'll have a rundown of your calls and action items the second you hang up. And if you miss a call, no problem. Automated messages are sent directly to your customer, ensuring that you never miss an opportunity to engage. And right now, Open Phone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/lockedonnba. That is openphone.com/lockedonnba for $20 off for 6 months. Openphone.com/lockedonnba. If you have existing numbers with another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. All right, good to have Open Phone with us supporting the show now as well. Let's look at some more of the little schedule quirk things, and this is the back-to-back period or portion of the show where the back-to-backs lie during the week. If we look at Sunday to Monday, that's 9 games and 6 games. It's only New York and Washington, so only 2 teams give you that Sunday-Monday advantage. No one plays Monday, Tuesday. There's no back-to-back there. Tuesday, Wednesday, with 11 games Wednesday, we do have a bunch of teams, but you might not be able to utilize it. Atlanta, Brooklyn, Chicago, Dallas, Denver, Milwaukee, New Orleans, and Philadelphia. Tuesday to Thursday, which is the pseudo back-to-back without worrying about the Wednesday in the middle. You've got quite a bit here. You've got 6 teams with that combo. Cleveland, Indiana, Oklahoma City, Phoenix, Portland, Sacramento. And in the stream zone earlier, we talked about Oklahoma City because they go Tuesday, Thursday. Then they've also got Thursday, Friday as a back-to-back. And that's the only team with that back-to-back. So they've got the 3 games in 4 nights and ignoring the Wednesday. So that is that real advantageous spot to stream players in for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then the last group of back-to-backs for the week, we've got the Friday-Saturday pairing, which is Boston and Minnesota, and then the Saturday-Sunday weekend back-to-backs, which is Philadelphia, it's Portland, and it is Washington for our final back-to-back section of the week. Now, let's look at some injury updates. Who is unlikely to play this week, and where are we unsure about those guys who are going to play or maybe not going to play? We'll start with just running through a bunch of the names who aren't going to be available this week, unless things randomly change. We've got the 2 Mavericks guys. Luka's definitely not playing. Kyrie, I don't think he's going to be playing. Jordan Clarkson for the Jazz won't play. Matisse Thybulle, I'm guessing, is out again. Mitchell Robinson for the Knicks is going to be out. Franz Wagner, it looks like he could be coming back towards the end of January, but still not going to be available in week 13. You've got Marcus Smart. The update now on Johnny Juzang, who's going to be out for a few weeks at least. You've got Chet Holmgren, John Kuminga, Cam Thomas, I don't think will be back this week on the road trip, and Jabari Smith, with his hand fracture, is going to be out during this week. We've also got Vince Williams Jr. and Herb Jones, who I don't think is going to... Herb Jones with that torn labrum, it's not confirmed. It's possible, like Shaedon Sharp had the torn labrum in the preseason and did return 2 months in, maybe 3 months, 2 months in. It is possible that Jones makes a return, let's say middle of March. But again, for most of us, that's the start of fantasy playoffs, and it's just not worth holding on to a player like that. But also, this team is going nowhere. You can have torn shoulder labrums like Julius Randle that kept him out for 6 months. You can have it like a Pascal Siakam had one of those, and Onyeka Okongwu had one of those a couple of years ago, which is like a 6-month injury, and it depends on if you have surgery or not. So all odds to me would suggest that Herb just isn't going to play the rest of this season. There are a bunch of guys, though, we don't know whether they're going to be available to play. Jimmy Butler, and the reason I say this is that his suspension definitely ends this week. The Heat have got 4 games, which will be interesting. What if their games get postponed? So those games which would have been part of the suspension, they would have been part of the suspension, but they're not played. So does the suspension just carry on to the next? That's weird. Anyway, Jimmy Butler, assuming those games go ahead, will miss the first 3 games of this week and might return on the final game. The reporting is that he will just come back and play. Like, will he half-ass it again? I don't know. I don't think they're going to hold him out. So we'll find out. Jalen Suggs in his back injury could return this week. Brandon Podziemski seems likely to return. Whatever's going on in Utah with Keontae George, John Collins, and Bryce Sensabaugh, I'm not going to tell you they're going to play, but I do think they probably will. But they are hard tanking at the moment, the Utah Jazz. The other bunch of names here, we've got Aaron Nesmith, who's been out for years. Royce O'Neal is probably returning for Phoenix. I put Brandon Ingram on this list, but I don't know. I've got no idea. Aaron Gordon should be back. Ayo Dosunmu should be back during the week. And then I put Tari Eason here because I just don't know. They just keep making him listed doubtful, and I will just keep thinking that he is doubtful until they tell me otherwise. But it is possible that Tari Eason returns this week. Possible, not likely. Some other names for us to look at. Alex Caruso, who's been out for, again, weeks with literally no updates at all. Malcolm Brogdon with foot pain. I'd be unlikely to think that he would play this week. Andrew Wiggins, personal reasons. I believe he is having a child, so I think he'll be back this week. Jeremy Grant and the facial contusion, the worst facial contusion in the history of the world. You would think at some point that the league taps him on the shoulder and go, bro, like make up at least a real injury. Tell him that he's fractured his cheek or something. I expect that he plays badly, but plays. I put Trey Murphy there, but Trey Murphy's actually in. So he's good. We're good to go there. And Joel Embiid with a foot issue, who has missed basically all of this week. He's questionable for their next game. I don't know whether he's going to play or not, but we're always just going to put that we're going to be unsure about Joel Embiid's availability. I think that would be a pretty smart way to go about it. We also have a couple of Johnsons on the list, Jalen and Cam. Not sure if they're going to be back. You would hope that Jalen's back and Cam should be back. D'Angelo Russell's been out with his shin contusion. It would make sense that he would return. Same with De'Aaron Fox and Jeremy Sohan. I do think that Sohan will be available to play during Week 13, but of course, we still do not know about that. But what I do know now is that I'm going to tell you about in weekly leagues what we need to look at. Are there players 60% plus available who could be worth adding and starting during this week? So let's look at the guys who are available, who you might be able to add in a weekly league and start them this week. All 60+% available, all with 4 games, assuming that they're ready to go and fine with the fires. But Jaime Jaquez is at the top of that list, but there is a chance that he's a 2-game player. It's a risk. Tamani Kamara, Kaysen Wallace, Luguentz Dort, Jaden McDaniels, and Dylan Brooks. All available, all very risky. Every one of these players, I'd say, okay, the difference between these guys is Kamara doesn't have big spikes. He doesn't have big drops, though. So he's relatively consistent, but the 4 games puts him over the edge. Kaysen Wallace is relatively inconsistent, but the bottom 3, Dort, McDaniels, and Brooks, you know that you don't know what you're going to get on a game-to-game basis. But with 4 games during the week, you would hope that that's enough to smooth out the variance and get enough value where the 4 games trumps getting 3 games from somebody else. That's the perfect sort of time to use these streaming players in a weekly lock league. Hopefully, fingers crossed for you that they don't put together 4 absolute stinkers. And then we've got the 2-game teams, Charlotte and Utah. So in a standard 12-team format, are there any of these players that are worth us starting? And I think yes, 1, LaMelo Ball. That's it. I wouldn't start Miller. I wouldn't start Mark Williams. I wouldn't start Miles Bridges. I would not start a single Jazz guy. I wouldn't start Kessler. You could make the argument if you're just desperate for those blocks. I wouldn't start Markkanen. No guarantee he even plays 2 games. Definitely not John Collins or Keontae George or Bryce Sensabaugh or Colin Sexton or any of these guys. The only person with, again, 28 teams playing 3 or 4 games, the only players that I feel comfortable with is LaMelo Ball. Like, is 4 games of Dylan Brooks better than, let's say, 2 games of Colin Sexton? The odds would suggest yes. Is 4 games of Lou Dort better than 2 games of Brandon Miller? Probably. Now, Miller might play 66 minutes. Dort might play 120. And he'll have some bad games in there. But that's so hard to overcome that minute disparity during that time. So I think the only guy we look at really there is LaMelo Ball. And what I want you to look at is the fact that this is the end of the show. National Pharmacist Day. Celebrate it with your your favorite pharmacist. And hit the thumb on this video if I was your once favorite former pharmacist. Guys, I'll be back with a Sunday streaming show as well. Again, all of our thoughts and care and all that sort of stuff goes out to the people in Los Angeles. But yeah, I'm not gonna give all my good vibes that way. I'll give most of them, but everyone else needs them too. We all need something. We all need something. We all need to know that we can be good. We all know that we've done something good. It's something small. Did you go and make a coffee for your partner? W, right? Well, that's it. Did you do it? Did you see something was sitting on your table and you go, man, I got to remove that? And you don't, and then you do it. You go, yep, that was, instead of sitting there and going, why didn't I do that a week ago? You said, don't worry about it. I did it now. That's good. Move forward. It's corny. It's hokey, which is a weird word. But I think it's important, and I think it's something we can all do. Guys, we're done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.